And my last question, there's the people that are going to watch this. A lot of them have depression, other things. Some of them have physical problems that depend on medication to function, or if they don't have it, they could die too. What more? Obviously, we have the movement on the Bernie Sanders side of things, and activists and organizers pushing Medicare for all. What would you like to see? What would you tell people watching that have a similar circumstance to your son, what he had? What should they do?
Well, as I said earlier, I realized when you have depression, you'd go to ask for help. Sometimes you run into walls. It's not easy to dig into yourself and say, I can't take care of myself. But if you can't, you have to accept that. It will help you go further and ask for the help that you need. I would hate for another parent to have to bury their child the way I have. I know many millions of Americans will, but it is not a pain you will ever understand until you've done it yourself, and I don't wish it upon anyone. I don't care if you're a liberal or conservative, right wing, left wing, nobody, no American needs to bury their child for something as ridiculous as $20. No parent wants to bury their child for any reason. And if you need help, ask for it. There are other programs, as I mentioned earlier, that are really good programs that will help you get your medication. But you have to jump through the hoops to get it, and it's worth it. Suicide doesn't take away the pain, it only passes it on to the next person. Danny was not a selfish person by any means, but he just couldn't handle the pain anymore. He could have handled it better with the proper medication. So please, if anybody's out there that's considering suicide, ask for help. Again and again. Don't put your loved ones through this.
And how many children did Danny have?
Two. Hazel and Daniel Mark.
How old?
Daniel Mark is 6 now, and Hazel is like a year and a half. Daniel, we probably won't ever be able to see him. The mother is estranged from us, and as I said, Danny was going to lose custody of Daniel and all parental rights on that Tuesday. We haven't heard from the mom. I'm not lashing out at her. You know, Danny has said, I knew he had problems. He had violent tendencies. If I was his mother and he was acting crazy around me, I might protect my child too. I don't blame her. Could have been handled better where he could still see his children, but I imagine I wasn't there, so I can't really be on that. Hazel, we get to see her. We just saw her a couple days ago, and we're going to be seeing her in a couple hours again. The two children, if you were to take the picture side by side, you could tell they're all Danny. Both have his red ginger hair and fair skin. Poor kids.
Well, I thank you for speaking with me. I know I would implore anyone really in the media to take the time to speak with you because at the end of the day, I think your story and more importantly your son's story hammers home the point. Money shouldn't be involved when it comes to people's life or death. And it is life or death. We're talking about whether it be medication, services, surgeries, whatever. We're talking about...
Well, therapy. Therapy can save somebody's life sometimes.
Right.
And that will be quick to be axed on any insurance plan because they don't see any medical reasoning.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Stay in touch with us. And I know on behalf of my audience, we just hope, as best as you can, we send you our condolences and hope you have as much time with your remaining grandkids and other children as you can.
Thank you, Jordan. I truly appreciate everything you've, not just on the Medicare for all the stances that you've taken. I've watched you a million times, and you're just amazing. Thank you. I truly appreciate all your advocacy.
Thank you. Say hello to your wife for me too. Take care. That was my interview with Scott Desnoyers. He's the father of Danny, who unfortunately, is no longer with us. Yeah, that's a difficult interview to have to do, and I know Scott is in the live chat, so if you want to send your condolences or say something nice, I'm sure he would appreciate that. There's a lot I take away from what happened there. I think that really we've come to a moment in not just this country, but I think just society, where people don't really give a shit about something unless it affects them. I think we know this of the Republican Party, and frankly, we know this of establishment corporate Democrats. They just don't care. You know, these insurance companies like Fidelis that canceled Danny's policy. Again, I've reached out to Fidelis 4 times now. They haven't responded to me, probably because they don't want this story to get more oxygen and more attention. It's going to get more attention, whether I have to, one way or the other, this story is going to get more attention. And I know Scott is trying to get other media to pick up this story, and I would suggest all media, corporate, independent, should interview Scott and pick up this story. Because at the end of the day, when a company cancels a mentally ill person, whether it's over $20 or $2,000, you're playing God with that person's life. Because a mental illness like depression and psychosis is life or death. If you're not treated for it, and there's different treatments, some people do the medication, some people do other treatments. If you're not treated, the very symptoms that the treatment help to alleviate, they come back. I mean, I know in my life when I've not taken my antidepressants for a couple days, I feel more depressed. So the fact that these insurance companies, we as Americans, our lives are based, and our lives are in the hands not of doctors, but of for-profit sociopaths. You have to be a sociopath to cancel somebody's insurance over $20. You have to be a sociopath to cancel somebody's insurance who's on depression and psychosis medication without taking every human measure to contact this person. They didn't have to cancel him. They could have filled the prescription with half of the medication. So if you get 30 pills, you get 15. And when Danny would have seen that he got 15 pills, he would have called. When he called on April 1st and paid the $20, it is absolutely insane that somebody would have to wait 30 days to get covered again. Well, those 30 days are the difference between life and death, because people can't go without their medication. If you have diabetes, you need insulin. If you're old, you might need oxygen, right? Thyroid, you might need thyroid medication, whatever it is. But the key is, and I want to say, Fluffy Bunny says, once the company received the $20, they should have reinstated insurance. Yes, but the key word in that sentence is company. This should not be a for-profit system. And I've heard from medical professionals, well, doctors go to school for many, many years and they put in the work, so they want to make money. Well, if you got into the health and medical field to make a lot of money, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And by the way, in single-payer systems around the world, countries that have single-payer systems, the doctors that are paid by the government, they do very well. They're some of the higher paid people in society. Go talk to the doctors in Germany and France and other countries with single-payer. So basically, this health insurance company killed this young man. He wasn't perfect, as his father talked about. He did have violent tendencies, which I would be irresponsible to not mention. He did. I think part of those violent tendencies were brought on by psychosis. But this should not be a for-profit system. And frankly, to me, not as a journalist, but as a voter, it's disqualifying if you're not for Medicare for all, full stop, period. I don't want to hear people that say, oh, I'm for Medicare for all, but I'm open to, incremental steps to get there. We don't have time for incremental bullshit. What has incremental bullshit done for this country over the last 30 to 40 years? This is what incremental bullshit has done for this country. That's the graph. From oligarchs and plutocrats. Because all that money is being hoarded to a very, very small few people. And at the top 1% are the big pharmaceutical company executives too. And that blue line is all of the bottom 50% declining. We're not the greatest country on earth. We're the greatest corporation on earth because this is the United Corporations of America. And the fact that Scott, who's in the live chat, the fact that Scott had to bury his son, the fact that 2 young children now don't have a father because an insurance company, probably because of an automated system, canceled insurance. It's beyond inhumane. It's barbaric. And you want to say the threat to democracy is Russia? The threat to democracy is the oligarchy destroying the country. So I blame a lot of people for this. Of course, you got to blame the Republican Party because they're in the tank for big pharma. But I blame, most of all, the Democratic Party because they are the ones that claim to be the party of the people. And you cannot defeat extreme, batshit, lunatic republicanism with country club republicanism. Because the Democratic Party is country club republicanism that's pro-choice. That's it. I mean, would Nancy Pelosi say this to Scott? If Scott got her in the room? Nancy Pelosi on Medicare for all. Administratively, it's the simplest thing to do, but to convert it, that's $30 trillion. Now, how do you pay for that? The same way that you and the Republicans have paid for endless goddamn war. Put it on the credit card. Print the money, Nancy. We have the money. It's called modern monetary theory. The government prints its own money. There is no debt crisis. It's not about not having the money for Medicare for all. It's not having the will or making it a priority because Nancy Pelosi's big pharma and the Democratic Party's big pharma bosses won't allow it. And you want to know how I know this? This from The Intercept. Top Nancy Pelosi aide privately tells insurance executives not to worry about Democrats pushing Medicare for all. Behind closed doors, that's where the legislation happens with lobbyists and big pharma executives. Nancy Pelosi's aide says to big pharma executives concerned about all this talk about Medicare for all, don't worry. We won't allow that. How are you going to pay for it? Well, how are you going to pay not to do it? Thank you, Jedi Mullet in the super chat. Single payer now. End corporate fascism. Deciding if we live or die. Impeach Pelosi. I also want to point out somebody who I just find absolutely objectionable. I don't know if you've seen this Jennifer Rubin, who writes for the Washington Post. She does about 3 or 4 negative Bernie stories a week. She tweets out, Michael Bennet deserves credit as the only Democrat able and willing to confront the Medicare for all fetish that has gripped some Democrats. It's a fetish to not want your son to get suicidal because his health insurance was canceled. It's a fetish, as Scott said, to not want to die or live based on whether you have $20 in your pocket? That's a fetish? You fucking arrogant, elitist, tone-deaf moron. These are the people. Thank you, Chester. $10 in the super chat. Yeah, that's disgusting. That's the problem with all the corporations. To make a profit by then whatever their markets trick people into thinking their corporate purposes. The fact that these are the sociopaths in our media. Jennifer Rubin, that's a sociopath writing that. The fact that Nancy Pelosi, a multi-millionaire 10 times over, is playing God with people's lives. Also, her donors and the Democratic Party's donors and the lobbyists can keep getting fed. You're complicit in killing people because today it's Scott's child, tomorrow it's going to be somebody else's child. Today it's Scott over depression and psychosis. Danny over depression and psychosis. The next day it's going to be bipolar for someone, schizophrenia for someone, multiple personality disorder, kidney problems, physical ailments that can't afford the medication, can't afford the treatment, or have to ration. You know how many people that watch Status Quo have told me stories that they have to ration their insulin because they can't afford it? And you have Kamala Harris going on in a town hall, I'm for Medicare for all. And then when Hillary's donors tell her, you better shut your mouth about that Medicare for all, within 24 hours, I'm for Medicare for all as the ultimate goal, but, I'm open to other things. Elizabeth Warren has done the same things. I'm for Medicare for all, but I'm for other things. Beto stand on a bar and say a lot of nothing. O'Rourke, he's not for Medicare for all because we don't have time for some perfect solution. It's the same thing Hillary Clinton said. Oh, we don't have the time for some theoretical debate over something that will never ever come to pass. Wow. Can you imagine if Martin Luther King said, "We don't have the time. Black men are being killed. We'll take crumbs just to fix some of it." I mean, I don't have any children, so I'm not going to pretend to understand what Scott is going through. I'm sure Danny and what has happened is all he thinks about all day long. I'm sure his wife is beyond a mess right now. But all I could say is that's why Status Quo covers the Medicare for All fight and movement as much as we do. If you don't know, Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All proposal includes mental health. It also includes long-term care. It also includes hearing aids, all paid for. And you know what? We'd all have to pay a little bit more in taxes. And you know what? I'd be happy to pay a little bit more in taxes so I didn't have to pay insane copays, insane deductibles, so that corporate big pharmaceutical CEOs can basically steal my money and your money.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.